you can reference it later. All right. If you guys want, you can take a screenshot of these key contacts. These are all your HDD specialists for Vermeer Midwest. So if you're in Indiana, you're going to call Paul. We've got all their cell phones on there and emails. Just depends on, you know, how you want to get a hold of them. So go ahead and screenshot if you want. We'll pull it back up again at the end of the presentation, just so you know, and you'll have an opportunity to screenshot there as well. All right, I'll just take it over to CJ now.
Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. So this is not going to be a most exciting presentation, but it's going to be probably the most important one to listen to. So first, you have the operator's manual, which is located behind the operator station, behind your seat in that black box. This is very important to read before you operate the equipment. And if you have any questions on anything control-wise, you can pull that out, and it's very information. So it has very good information on it. Also, it has your PPE requirements, which we'll talk about in a later slide. So your personal protective equipment is your PPE. You have 5 major items that are you need to have, which are dielectric gloves, dielectric boots, your hard hat, your vest, and your safety glasses. And which we'll talk about your cone placement later. And with your inserting your strike alert stake is your very most important thing to do before you start drilling. And inside that coned off area, which I'll talk about later, you cannot touch or lean on the machine, which I see a lot of guys do. That's not very safe. And if you need to check your dielectric gloves and your boots daily to see if they have cuts or abrasions, if they do, they need to be canned and get new ones. So your common drill components, as you see with the drive, the machine controls, need to start the machine up. That stop button, that red stop button on the back there, is very important to test to see if it kills the engine. And if so, it does. If it works, you're good to go. Also, with the remote, where the remote lockout stores is in that picture there. And then also with the remote lockout, this is another safety device that you need to have. Most people, the locators usually carry this device, and if there's any, say at the exit pit, he can shut that drill off hydraulically, and so there's no spinning, or if there's nobody at the drill and say a homeowner comes out and tries to sit on the machine and start moving buttons and stuff, that's where most injuries happen, is at the exit pit. So this device will allow no hydraulic movement while this machine is locked out. And then on the upper right-hand corner, there's the operator station. So count the drive chuck is very important as well as the subsaver. Subsaver needs to be checked on a daily basis for cuts or for sharp edges or worn down. If it's worn down or has sharp edges, it needs to be replaced immediately because that's going into every rod that you're going to be drilling out and drilling back in. Also, the floating gearbox, as you see right here so this floating gearbox also helps save the threads on your subsaver. So by using this floating gearbox, once you get drilled out, need to back up on your thrust a little bit before you start spinning out of your rod. And that will save your subsaver on your wear. Also, your vice jaws, they need to be pressure washed and cleaned daily or with a wire brush. They need to be kept clean so you can break your rods free every time. Because if you get grease and mud on there, you're more than likely not going to be able to break that joint loose. So your water pump, you can test that by hooking up a pressure washer wand and see if your valves move correctly. If they're moving fast or sporadically, there's more than likely you got a rock or something in there. Could need a valve replaced. And if we're kind of in this time of year where it'll be warm during the day, but could get below 40 degrees or freezing. So you need to remember to antifreeze that water pump because antifreeze is a lot cheaper than replacing a water pump. Also on the adder rod function is a very sweet deal on the 2022s, Series 3s up to the 4055s. That's easier on your back and a lot easier to load and unload rods from your rack. And also the battery shutoff switch, you need to test that daily to turn that to the off position to see if your machine starts. If it does start, then it's not working, you contact your local Vermeer dealer to get that working again. Strike alert. Your strike alert is a two-way circuit, two-circuit system. It is a voltage difference between the drill and earth ground. The current on the drill stem will come back to you and it'll sound an audible alarm, which is pretty annoying. So your cone placement has to be, your ground stake needs to be at least 6 foot away from the machine, if not farther. And then your cone placement will be on the outside edge of that ground stake all the way around your machine on your 4 corners with the labels facing outward. And inside that is called a safe zone. And inside that area, you need to have your PPE on. So when you put your ground stake in the ground, you need to have all your PPE on. And so once you got that in the ground and your 4 cones set, you can now go up to your operator station and sit on the seat and press the test key, which is circled in green. And then we'll talk about if it's safe on the next slide. If you would hit power underground, if the alarm goes off, you would back up your drill stem, but don't break your joint, and try to press that alarm cancel key to see if that alarm goes off. So here you got your striker status and indicators. The circle in green with the lightning bolt, if that's solid green, that means the power check is passed and the system is ready. If it's flashing yellow, that means the voltage stake is not on the ground. We could have a wiring issue with it. You should probably contact your local Vermeer dealer and get that fixed, because the strike alert is very important to have in the ground for your safety. Also, if it's red, then you probably have hit power. So, and you don't want to hit power, because you don't want to do that. So your rod connection makeup torque is very important. Every drill has a different, every size machine has a different torque limiter, and your joints are your strongest point in the drill stem and your rod connection. So you see a good shoulder, which is square and not rounded or sharp. So also you see a bad example and a good example of your shoulders. If they're flared, you're more than likely they need to be thrown out, and because there's no way to fix those. So if you need more rods, you can contact your local Vermeer dealer. If you use them, you could be liable to break a joint downhole, and you don't want to lose your head downhole, because that's a lot of money with your head and your sonde in there. You don't want to do that. So your forced breakouts on your subsaver, it damages your subsaver, and your subsaver is going into every rod that you drill out and drill back in. So if your subsaver's junk, get it replaced. But usually you want to do that like on a, say, Friday afternoon after you're done drilling for the week, because it needs to have 24 hours of dry to let that glue dry. And so that's the purpose of your floating gearbox, to help on that wear of the subsaver. So rod evaluation is very important also, besides your subsaver. If your rods are getting worn down or has excessive thread wear, you need to throw them out and get new ones. Because if they're worn down, you could potentially not have, could possibly not have your rods, you can't, yeah, sorry. Your brake, you can't break that joint sometimes if the rod's threads are bad. Also, I like to alternate the first couple rods within the rod basket about every 10 bores, because your first few rods are getting the most steer, That's where you're doing the steering at. So also you need to clean out your vise teeth daily with power washer or with wire brush. Also, you need to check to see if that wiper is doing its job and not bringing mud and dirt into your vise jaws. If so, you need to get a new one on there. If your machine is equipped with a rod loader evaluation, rack and rod loader, you need to check for calibration, which if it comes into your Vermeer dealer, it gets checked every time it comes in. But if it doesn't, you need to check that, see if the subsaver is going into your rod square. If it's not going into your rod square, it'll ruin that subsaver and that rod that's going into, and every other rod that's going to go into. Also, you need to check for excessive wear on your rack and pinion. And if so, your rack and pinion needs to be cleaned and not lubed or greased. It just needs to be cleaned. Also, for greasing the machine, I'm going to go over a couple of things to show you how to read this chart. And the best time to grease is, say, in the wintertime when your machine's warming up. You can do that as your machine's warming up, or in the morning's a good time, or after you're done drilling, and you do it each night. So starting from the top here with the 50 hours is weekly. And then you see the 10 hours, that's daily. So if we go through the 50 hours, down here, there's 2 pumps to 4 grease zerks on your back stabilizer. And this is on a 2330 Series 3, this for reference. And then also you have 2 pumps to 2 grease zerks on your rack cylinder here. Okay, then we'll go to our 10 hours. So that's daily. We have 2 pumps to 4 grease zerks on your 2 vices. And then we come over counterclockwise, we have 8 pumps to 1 zerk on your front zerk right there. So here is your key contacts again. Here's all your Vermeer Midwest people you can contact for any questions or concerns. We appreciate you joining us today. And if you have any questions, you can chat in the box.
Yeah, just wanted to see if anybody had any questions, and then also remind you guys, if I can share my screen real quick. We've got the drill fluids promotion going on right now. So through May 15th, each of the locations has this golden ticket hidden in a case of drill fluids. I'm not sure, maybe some of them have found one already, but I haven't heard yet. So you could still be in the running. So go ahead and just purchase your drill fluids now, and you'll be able to get a chance to win a cooler, and it'll be filled with a bunch of different swag and stuff from any of those. Siege, we got one question. When's the best time to do the daily grease? Would you do it in the morning or at the end of the day?
I like to do it in the morning, first time we get to the job site. Let's just do it and get it done with. And that's the best way, probably, is what I see, because at the end of the day, you're usually wanting to rush and get home.
Makes sense. Cool. Yeah, definitely. You can always over grease, but you do not want to under grease. I know that much. So
Yep.
cool. Hey, Siege, can you touch a little bit more on the gearbox slides? Here, I'll let you, you can go back and share your screen.
What did I just do?
Emilio, I see what you said. So, yeah, we can definitely look into that. I would talk to your HDD specialist about doing some kind of trade-in or something with those used rods, especially the ones that are worn out, or, you know, maybe you didn't get some maintenance done or whatever, and they crapped out a little early. So definitely I would always reach out to your HDD specialist for any info on that. You might be able to work something out with them.
These slides.
You able to share, CJ?
I don't know.
On the Zoom, at the bottom, it says share screen.
So,
Are you getting it, or you need help?
zoom into the slide. Screen, last dude.
Share screen, CJ.
I'm not seeing it.
It's on the bottom, how you shared it the first time. On the menu in your Zoom window. Paul, is there anything in particular you want to talk about with the gearbox slides? Oh. Guess I need to take you off mute. Hold on. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. This is Paul in Fishers, Indiana. I just wanted to touch base a little bit about on the gearbox slides. If you own a older machine, you know, a lot of those machines had rollers. All the newer machines have gearbox slides on them. Those things do wear out. So if you need to really pay attention on the gearbox as those get slopped, can be flipped. And eventually you'll have to replace them. Usually can flip them one time and then you got to replace them. So gearboxes, you know, the slides on there, you know, they get a lot of play in them. They can start wearing a lot of your gears on your rack and pinion. And it also, if they got certain types of the coders that tell you where the gearbox is, it can take those out also. So really keep an eye on your gearbox slides.
Good to know.
So keeping that rack and pinion, everything clean, washed off is going to allow those to last a lot longer.
Okay. Great. Guys,
Is there any more?
oh, in the chat there, I put my email address. So if you guys have other topics or any feedback on the presentation, I would love to hear it. So you can just email me straight there, kelsey.cool@vermeermidwest.com. But we'll stay on for just another couple minutes and see if you guys have any questions. But other than that, we really appreciate you guys coming on and listening to what we've got to say. And don't forget to take care of your machine, because it is definitely a lot easier and cheaper to maintain it than it is to fix any broken pieces. So thanks again.